Hey, to whoever may need this.
Hey there, and welcome to the fifth episode of the Hunters Are Here podcast, where we swap family tales from the hilarious to the heartwarming. I'm your host, Ellen, and every week we share the stories that made us laugh, cry, and sometimes roll our eyes at Uncle Buddy. Truly, it should be a movie because growing up Hunter was/is an experience that keeps happening. You may be familiar with my voice from a podcast I do with my hubby, Paul, called E Says, P Says. Currently, we are on a bit of a hiatus due to the mister going through some health challenges. Thankfully, he is on the mend and we should be bringing you new episodes soon. If you are listening to us for the first time, I discussed my second eldest Aunt Pauline, last week. I answered some questions about her and moments we shared, and was so happy to get some feedback from my second cousin and Aunt Pauline's grandson. Because of our age and geographical difference, we did not see each other much while he was growing up. So he was quite pleased to hear about the years and time his elder cousins had with his grandmother. Hopefully, I will get to interview him about his experience with my aunt. LOL, I am quite sure there was a 360-degree turn because he was her grandchild, and we were mostly shocked at how the actual children are raised and how the grandchildren are raised so differently. So this week, I will be discussing my third eldest aunt, Corine. As I stated previously, I do not remember meeting my Aunt Corine till I was 6 or 7 years old during the summers with Aunt Pauline. I very well could have met her earlier, I just don't recall. Though there are photos of me and my dad in Montgomery in front of the home and some of me in the backyard in a pool, I was obviously younger than 6 or 7, and if not for the photos, I don't remember a thing. Aunt Corrine was a teacher in the Alabama public school system till she retired. And as you can see, we are on child number 3, and they are the second educator. I'm not sure if that was because of the time frame in history or the importance that education and educating held as a family value. Aunt Corrine lived with my great aunt Julia, her husband Henry, and their son Benny. Uncle Henry was Grandier's older brother. Unfortunately, I never met him. He passed away by the time I had made my first trip to Alabama. Not sure how long she lived with them, but my cousin Sadie lived there as well. I believe that Sadie was another one of my grandmother's sister's children. I am just not sure which one. However, we are second cousins. LOL, something I did not find out till years later. As with the photo of my grandfather, we were just around family from time to time, and no one bothered to explain who they were. I guess remembering 11 aunts and uncles is enough for a child, so some of our outer relationships were not explained or understood till later in life. After all, I was only 6 or 7. LOL, I wouldn't have remembered anyway. I do know that Grandier had several sisters and brothers, and I do believe I met one or two of the sisters. And though my aunt and cousin were the only ones in Montgomery, it was about an hour away from Selma, and it was the city, so I gather they were happy. I'm not sure if Sadie had a job outside of working in the cleaners. However, her and Aunt Corrine both helped with the family cleaners. Like a lot of older homes, the business and the home were attached. You could go out the front to the front of the cleaners or through the backyard to get to the back of the cleaners where a lot of the machines were. Besides, quote unquote, working in the cleaners, I love visiting them because they had one of those clawfoot tubs. Now that's country living. It felt like a swimming pool compared to the bathtub at home in Brooklyn, New York. I would also walk the dog, Bob, with my aunt in the evenings from time to time. I remember begging and pleading so hard with her that she finally let me walk Bob. And like most dogs Bob was like, she has no clue what she's doing, and he took full advantage. He walked me into the fences, through the yards, wherever he wanted to go, till my aunt took the leash back. I think after that, she would sneak out to walk Bob because I only got to play with him outside in the backyard after that. She was also always cleaning the birds off the porch in the morning. I believe Bob was part spaniel, so they love catching birds. Unfortunately, Bob was hit by a car between one of our visits, so I only got to enjoy his company for 1 or 2 summers, if I can remember correctly. I also recall my great aunt's son, Benny, lived at the home as well. And Benny drove a Cadillac. And from time to time, he would take me and my cousin to get ice cream in the evening. So that was exciting, especially when you're little and there's nothing else around to do. And you've been living on the health food for the past few weeks. And he would also sometimes just take us driving around Alabama, driving around Montgomery. Uh, so that was, interesting for a 6 or 7 year old. And as I say, it was great being in Alabama. Raynard Jr. could cook, and I was so grateful because it wasn't health food, though she too had a garden in the backyard. However, because she was in the city, her garden was not as big as Aunt Pauline's or as far away from the house. She also lived right across the street from the HBCU Alabama State. My husband and I took a drive past there on a family trip over 30 years ago, and the cleaners was no more. And the new owners of the home had painted it some horrendous colors. Not sure what happened after my great aunt passed, but the house was lost. Something Aunt Evelyn was not happy about because no one contacted her for assistance. Similar to the episode with my previous family members, I have some questions I located on the interwebs to ask about my relatives. Also, I'm currently telling stories from my point of view. I have reached out to my first cousins, and hopefully, some of them will join me to share their experiences. And I can ask them the same questions because everyone has a point of view on family members that is different from mine, and I would be more than happy to hear the tea. LOL. So the first question is, what is your earliest memory of them? When I met her in Montgomery, when my Aunt Pauline drove through Alabama coming back from Atlanta, Georgia. How would you describe their personality in 3 words? Quiet, reserved, and strong. What role did they play in your life growing up? Not much of one. I knew she was my aunt because she was based in Alabama. I did not see her much. What is something they always said or a phrase you associate with them? My aunt was so quiet, I do not recall her having a phrase she used. What's one thing they taught you that still sticks with you today? She taught me quiet strength. You do not always have to be loud to get things done. How did they handle hard times or challenges with quiet reserve and prayer? What's the time they made you laugh really hard? Again, my aunt was so quiet, I don't remember laughing much. However, I only spent a few summers with her. Did you ever have a falling out or disagreement? How did you work through it? No. We got along well. What's something you wish you had said to them or wish they had said to you? I wish I would have asked her how she came to live in Montgomery, Alabama. Also, she was the only aunt that was not married, so I would have wanted to know how that happened, especially because of the time frame. It was rare for a woman not to marry. How have they shaped your views on love, family, or identity? Similar to the Bible verse, love does not need to be boisterous. That is what I think of when I consider my Aunt Corine. Tell me about a day with them you'll never forget. When we went to visit her later in life, when we were in Montgomery, Alabama, well, we were in Selma, Alabama. We drove to Montgomery to see her. I think we were headed to get something to eat. She asked if we were hungry, and the way her house was shaped, the front door was behind a wall. Though it was hot, my husband managed to be outside, and when I passed him following my aunt, he just shook his head no. That signaled to everyone to take her to dinner with us or get out. Not sure if she came with us to dinner, but I do know we did not eat there. LOL. It's my aunt was headed to her freezer and she was like, I can just throw something out or put it in the microwave, and we everybody like, no. And I don't recall, like I said, my aunt cooked when we went to her house. So I don't recall my aunt cooking too tough. So I don't know. I don't know if she could cook or not. Was there a family tradition or event they made special? Not really. I did not see her much. She really based herself in Montgomery, Alabama. And I also must mention my family has little cliques. Not bad cliques, but just a group of 3 or 4 of them that always stay in touch. And I learned when I spent some time with my favorite aunt, she is the epicenter. Everyone called her for everything. I was like, no one calls our house like this. LOL. What's the funniest or most surprising story involving them? I'm sure there was something, but it has been a while, so I don't recall. Do you have a photo or item that reminds you of them? What's the story behind it? There is a photo I got from my Aunt Pauline's funeral program with a picture of her at my aunt and uncle's 50th or 60th wedding anniversary. What would be a perfect day with them look like? Spending some time watching some shows that she liked and walking Bob with her. How are you like them, or and how are you different? I can be quiet and reflective, and I can also be a little loud and bossy, which is the total opposite of my aunt Corine. What part of their legacy do you try to carry forward? As with a few of my aunts, she was also an educator. And as I have stated, that was the most important thing to grandeur. Education cannot be taken away. If they could be a if they could be a guest on this podcast, what would you ask them? I would ask her what really happened to Bob, and I would also ask her why she decided to stay in Montgomery, Alabama, and not move to some of the other areas that her siblings were, either New York, Chicago, Jersey, or Connecticut. Yeah, I think I hit everybody. How do you think they want to be remembered? As the quiet, caring, strong woman that she was. In one sentence, how would you sum up their impact on your life? She may have been quiet, but her absence among the family is loud. She was always kind and sweet and helpful, and rarely had a negative thing to say. Do you have an Aunt Corrine in your life? Did she show you that being quiet can be considered strong? Did she teach you about work and how to use different tools? Did she show you her school or classroom? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear. Now that we've discussed my third eldest aunt, I will stop right here and pick it up next week where I discuss my fourth eldest aunt, Aunt Maddie. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Please make sure to subscribe to The Hunters Are Here on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. If you would like to support, go to buymeacoffee.com/Mock Media. You can also check us out on Facebook under Mock Media Group. Or for all things Mock, check out our website, mockmediagroup.com. Thanks for listening.
Hey, To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worrying. I get it, the odds seem stacked back against the wall, but even consider it such, know you'll stand tall. Sat and watch from the sidelines.